Hello ladies and gentlemen, today's tutorial is about a pose that you're guaranteed to do pretty much every single yoga class, which is a downward facing dog. I've had a lot of questions and I see a lot of little things in downward dog that can have a big impact on the body. So this is why I'm doing this tutorial for you. I'd recommend first to actually look through this and see what I'm doing, and then play it a second time and maybe go through all the steps with me just so you can feel it as I speak through it for you. So first of all, come into your downward facing dog. So usually the position to the hands and the feet, people really focus on pushing these heels down. So they want to walk the feet actually closer to try and get them in. What I do to actually get the correct space between your hands and your feet is come into plank first. So find your plank, lift the hips up and send it back. And notice my heels are not on the floor, and that's totally fine. I don't think I'll ever push my heels to the ground, and I'm okay with that. So now we're going to talk through different alignments, but we're going to start at the front. So we're going to start with our hands. Hands are around shoulder width apart. Notice how wide I spread my fingers. Now if you already feel like you're collapsing here, and if you're broader across the shoulders, feel free to turn the hands out, especially if you feel like there's a lot of pressure in the wrists. Bring the hands to the outsides. Make this kind of compensation for the body so you're creating a little bit more space. And now from here, notice where you're sending your weight. Push down through this index finger and thumb. A lot of people sink to the outsides of the wrists. And the only problem with that, it's the most delicate part of the wrist. So if the inner arch of the hand's lifted, it means in time, this is going to wear out and you're probably going to get wrist issues. So push those index finger and thumb down. Wherever you are, relax your head and neck, so letting it go. So now traveling up the arms into the shoulders. Notice if you're scrunching up for me. So those ears, bring them away from the shoulders. Some of us already carry a lot of tension in the traps. So what I want you to do now is roll the armpits in towards each other. I want you to do that again. So bring them in, think of scrunching up through the upper back, and then roll the armpits in and just notice that space in the upper back that you have. Creating length through all of the spine. So there should be no tension around this area here. Traveling a bit further up now. So the spine's nice and lengthened. If you look at my ribs, you see how they're sticking out through here? But I want you to do belly button in towards the spine. Now notice this belly button in, it might slightly tilt the pelvis, but again it's creating length and bringing a little bit more strength into the pose. Now working into the hips and the legs. Some people I know will be probably like here, and it's super awful, you're feeling really kind of tense. What you need to do here, if your hamstrings are tight, put a slight bend in the knees. Sink the hips back. Again, find that length. There should always be equal weight between the hands and the feet. So find that length in the spine, and it doesn't matter if the knees are bent. If that's what you have to do today, then stay here. Your body is going to open up way more faster than trying to force a pose that it's not ready for. So from here, tailbone reaches up towards the sky. If you can straighten the legs, amazing. So think of pushing the tailbone back, then tucking the ribs in. Good. Grounding down, yes, you can push the heels towards the floor. You should get a nice calf stretch. But like I said before, it doesn't matter if they don't reach. Now, the last variation and things that I see is usually for my hypermobile people. So some people have really hypermobile joints and they can come into their downward dog and they completely sink back and they're like, oh yeah, I'm chilling out. This isn't bad, but don't do it all the time. When you want to stretch into the shoulders, yes, sink all the way down. But don't forget about the integrity of the pose. If you're always here, you're always hanging out in the joints, actually stretching them rather than bringing a bit of strength. So if you're here, pull back a little bit. So really pulling into the shoulders, grounding down through the palms, and just finding that nice solid diamond shape. So that is it. Your downward facing dog. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you want to see any other poses spoken through, please let me know.